Dela writes, my MVVs, welcome. Countdown to Ofarende ritual. They say the great lion has given an instruction that every royal fund, every sacred fund, every landed property and everything that belongs to, Prince T must be returned back to him. Like the names, documentation and everything. You know that. When he gave birth, when he had that boy, he was very, very happy. And a lot were given to that boy. But when the mother had a problem with the king, they removed everything, took everything away, and they started putting them in different ways, names and all of that. And right now, countdown to Ofarende, he has given an instruction that everything that was taken away must be returned back to the original owner. They say when the snail crawls back into its shell, it's not cowardice. It's going home to where it belongs. The same way a king must always return justice to its rightful place. Because power without fairness is like fire in a dry, forest. It will burn everything, even the one who lit it. That was the mood in Ife as the great lion, spoke with the full weight of royal authority and finality. It was no ordinary command. It was an order that carried the seal of ancestral mandate. The countdown to the Ofarende had begun, and the great lion declared that every royal fund, every sacred trust, every piece of land and property tied to lineage and destiny must be returned to its origin, his heir, Prince Cuteness. When you hear Delaram laugh like this, you know that Delaram is laughing in pidgin English. This is so sweet. Now, for months now, Whisper had moved like wild, like wind around the palace corridor about what happened to certain family assets and funds that once belonged to, the jewel and her son. When the separation came, so many things were taken away from her hands and by extension from the little prince. It wasn't just about wealth or title. It was about the spiritual inheritance of a royal child born through a covenant union. A boy whose birth was marked by rituals that seal his divine calling as heir. But anger, betrayal, and pain of the season had clouded many decisions. The great lion in his rage had withdrawn the trust fund, lands, and shares tied to the name of the young prince and reassigned them under other care temporarily, shutting down anything that had, the influence of the jewel at the time. Now, time had healed some wounds and deeper reflection had revealed the weight of his earlier choices. As the Ofarende approached, a spiritual restoration ceremony where all, things broken were meant to be realigned. The great lion summoned the royal accountant, chief, and custodian of inheritance. He spoke with calm but firm authority, saying, a man may walk away from his wife, but not from his blood. The child born of my loins carries the bread of my ancestors. Whatever belongs to his destiny must not remain in another's hands. His word carried power, and silence filled the great hall. The royal financial administrator, Chief Adegun, stood and bowed before the great lion, the throne, as the ledger were opened. Documents that had been sealed for years were laid before the great lion. The great lion went through each one, calling them by name. There was the Heir Toro Heritage Fund. In fact, so much money inside that fund is a trust account originally opened in, one of these banks. In fact, it's a whole lot. See, if I want to begin to call the money for you guys, it goes shokuna. There are also documents for a vast estate in the outskirts of Ibadan registered under Prince Cuteness Royal, family department property, but which had been frozen during the conflict. Then came the Omiran legacy bonds, shares in a royal energy company linked to offshore project in South Africa, originally meant to form the educational and entrepreneurial foundation for the heir's future. That one is different. No? All this had been moved one after another during the tension between the great lion and the wife. Some of them had been redirected under other names. People who were loyal to the palace at the time, or wives who stood closer to the king when everything fell apart. Like that educational thing was moved to Dr. Elizabeth, and they are moving it back from, Dr. Sapphire back to Prince T. How come nobody is hearing anything? Sure, you understand what is going on. He raised his staff and said that nothing tied to the lineage of, Prince T, should remain under another's name. He instructed that every document, every signature, and every power of attorney connected to the heir's asset be reassigned and redirected. A few royal custodians was appointed, custodian was appointed to oversee the process. Someone chosen by both the palace elders and the Joy family from Akure. The aim was clear: to bring healing between the two royal houses and to secure the legacy of the child who would one day inherit, his stuff. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Dela Ram. I bring you fresh and spicy just from the sources still on the royals. Dela right, my Dela right, my Dela right, my own people. Dela right, my Dela right, my Dela right, my simple people. Eshe o, adupe o. Now, the spiritual meaning of this act was enormous. In Yoruba royal tradition, property and inheritance are not just material. They are tied to the essence of destiny. A misplaced inheritance can delay the manifestation of a child's greatness. It can make an heir walk through life without realizing the full measure of his calling. By commanding that everything be returned before the Ofarende, the great lion is in essence, cleansing the royal line and aligning his bloodline with divine order again. Dela writes, Delaram, Sopo. The Ifa priest present that they understood the gravity of it. They nodded solemnly, chanting old verses that spoke of restoration and ancestral favor. Meanwhile, the Joyce family in Akure received the news with mixed emotion. For years, they had watched their daughter suffer humiliation and seen her son cut off from what was his birthright. They had prayed, fasted, and even performed their own family cleansing ritual, waiting for a day when justice would speak from the palace. And now, that day had finally come. The message that the great lion sent through his, envoy was clear. Let everything that was taken from my son return to him before the Ofarende, for I cannot enter a new covenant with the gods when there is disorder in my bloodline. Hi! They're right. You see what God can do. They say what God cannot do does not exist. I'll bring you more update. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.